Right, guys, welcome back to the podcast. So today we've got Mrs. Sarah Nisbet. She's been training with me online and in person over the last 2 years, and we're going to be discussing everything behind why she decided to take action and also her journey with JD Training. So Sarah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So tell me a little bit about like what you tried previously, kind of what you'd done and what led you to obviously coming down, having a discussion with me or joining at JD Training.
I'd never ever, before I was 30, struggled with any weight. I'd never done any exercise. It was just a case of running around and doing daily tasks and things. And then I seemed to start putting weight on. And I was just that type of person where, I'll just run around and it'll come off. And then I managed to put a couple of stone on, and I joined a slimming club. And for a few months, I did lose a couple of pounds, but it was the normal, don't eat anything before you get weighed.
Yeah.
So you're starving all day, and then you come home and you're like raiding the cupboards.
It's fish and chip weighing kind of.
Yeah. Order your Chinese before you go in, get weighed, pick it up on the way back. But no, seriously, it was one of those journeys where I knew I needed to lose weight, but I didn't really focus properly on doing it. So I'd lost a little bit of weight, was quite happy with it. And then I stopped going.
Yeah.
Life got on, busy with work, family life, just the general everyday stuff. And then I started to put more weight on, joined a different slimming club, went on and off for a couple of years. I'd be focused. I think the most I lost was like £3, seriously. And it was like £3 on one week. The week after, it'd be like, I put half a pound on. And it was just yo-yoing all the time.
Yeah.
And I always thought, I eat veg, I eat fruit, I home cook, I don't buy anything, ready jars or anything. I'm eating healthy. Yeah, but the amount I was eating was probably the biggest problem.
Yeah.
And weight just carried on till I was heavier than when I was pregnant with both children. And I'd put on quite a bit of weight with them too. So, but I'd lost it straight after them. So you just have that mindset of, it'll just disappear. But it didn't.
Yeah.
And we went on holiday 2 years ago and it was the heaviest I've ever been. And everything was uncomfortable. I bloated on holiday. I just felt rubbish. And I'd followed you for a little bit on Instagram, for Sam telling me about it. And
my Sam?
Your Sam.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
Yeah, she was the one that said, my partner does training. And
I was like, was she already getting her haircut by you?
Yeah, she was already coming to me. So I thought, I've seen your results you're getting and this, that and the other. And I thought, I'll join next month. And then that was like the July when I come back off my holidays. Then it was, I'll join the August. Then I'll join the next month. And it come to the October. And I was like, I'd joke and laugh and things like that. And I was like, I really do want to do something. And it sounds silly now, but I'd won the local rugby, like £5 a month draw or whatever it is they call it. And I was like, do you know what? That's money I've had. I'm going to sign up for that. So I did. So I signed up for it. I messaged her and I signed up and I thought, I'll come along to Fit Camp and have a little word with you. So I thought, I'll get there early. Come to Fit Camp, and I was a bit nervous. And I remember coming in and Carol was there and like she was really helpful, really, really lovely and chatty. And then I said to you, you sort of said, what do you want? And I said, I'd signed up to it. And then that conversation we had where I was telling you what I've just said, I've tried to lose weight, I eat healthy, but I can't lose weight. And the most I'd ever lost was like £3. So that's when we had the conversation where you were quite brutal.
Yeah.
You were brutal, but that really sort of shocked me into like, when I've done other things before, like I had done a little bit of PT training, but like you say, it was one of them where, I've done PT today. I'll meet my friend for cake and coffee because I've done PT. So whatever I'd done, I was just undoing it. And that was what the whole journey before was like, I'd done one thing and then undone it with another. So that did shock me into a little bit of like, Right,
let's take action.
This is it.
So before we get started about that conversation, because obviously that first conversation, I think generally set the tone, didn't it, for kind of like starting your journey. But I think the interesting thing to kind of talk about, and if there's anybody watching at home, is to mention the fact that obviously you run your own business.
Yeah.
And let's say, and I'm not here to judge your life, but you're not struggling. You're not short on money.
No.
And I think the pivotal thing to think about here is like, because I didn't know that's why you decided to take action, that was that you'd won money and stuff like that. But I think people can be sometimes a little bit, and clear for yourself as well, a little bit reluctant to invest in themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's something like, obviously you run your own business, you've obviously got a couple of kids, you've got a good family life, you've got a good lifestyle, but you were still a little bit reluctant to kind of invest in yourself. Why was that? Was it because you didn't trust yourself to do it? Was it because you was a bit apprehensive because it was all through Sam? Now I know I better give her some commission.
Yeah, you better add.
But now you know, obviously it's come through my partner. Was it because you'd seen it on Instagram and you didn't know me? Where did that kind of like lack of trust to invest in yourself? Because I think some people would resonate with them hearing that, because obviously, like I say, we're not saying you're a millionaire,
no.
but you are more comfortable than most.
Yeah.
And what was it was reluctant, and why did it take that for you to kind of take action?
It was me. It was one of them things where I was like, if I spend that for the whole program, am I going to do it? Yeah. Is it a waste? Where maybe if you did something where it was like Fit Camp, pay £5 a week, then that's fine.
Yeah.
Because it's just that 1 week. It's not investing over 16 weeks.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it was with me.
Was it because it was yourself? Because obviously we joke all the time, obviously, about your kids, and obviously I know you really well now, and you obviously travel with Chloe, and obviously you've got Max, and obviously I've got 4 kids. Was it as well, were you reluctant to spend on yourself because you'd rather spend on them? Is that what it was as well?
Definitely, yeah.
And I think that's the thing that we find now, like even me and Sam, is sometimes when we're looking at, obviously not fitness, because we very much invest in our fitness, like obviously the gym, the bike, in our time and our efforts, because we recognise it makes us potentially better parents and better at everything. But we would very much so be reluctant to invest in other areas, because we're like, well, you'd kind of want to give it to your kids. And that's what I kind of try to explain to people is, if you do get in better shape and you feel good about yourself and you feel more confident, you're going to be a better version of yourself in every which way, in your job or at work, in like for the kids as well. But it's interesting to hear that, because obviously, and this is a brilliant thing about the podcast, I didn't know you came through Sam. I just assumed you must have seen someone online. And also I didn't know the kind of catalyst for you taking action was kind of like winning the money. Which again surprises me, because it would be like, if someone else had said it, it probably wouldn't have surprised me. And also like running your own business, I think that's definitely one thing to think about, because like you just said, you alluded to before, where you were like all running around. You are busy. Running your own business is stressful, as we talk about quite a lot. But there is a time where you do have to kind of focus on yourself. So let's talk about obviously that initial conversation. That conversation there. Because this is something obviously we spoke about before, it's on the website, and we have put it on camera before that conversation. So let's talk a little bit, like, tell me a little bit about like how the conversation went from your end, and then I'll kind of explain it from my end.
So I remember sort of you asking me what I wanted, what I tried before, and me telling you, and I was a little bit like, oh, you know, I eat healthy, and you just said, well, obviously you're not calorie deficient, so you're never going to lose weight. And I was like, oh, that is quite straight to the point. Yeah,
and I think that's a common theme that's come up, and this is one of the things I had with Gemma, is Gemma was very much along the same mindset of like, I cook everything from scratch, like I make healthy choices, I eat whole foods, I eat this, I eat that, and I was like, you eat too much.
Yeah.
Like there's no getting around it. If you are putting weight on, you're eating too many calories, you're in a calorie surplus, which means you're obviously going to gain body fat. So yeah, and then from that we then went on to a discussion about your age and various other things.
Well, I did, because in my business I'm talking to people all day, and you mentioned
it's not like you.
Weight. No, I know, because I don't talk at all. You mentioned weight, and everyone's like, oh, well, you're in your 40s now, you're probably perimenopausal. So when certain people tell you that, after time you think, well, I probably am actually. And that's why I've got this belly, and that's why I'm not losing weight, and that's why I'm struggling, that's why I'm tired. And it is a good little excuse to use, because you think, well, I'm in my 40s now. Yeah, it's going to be happening.
Yeah,
and that was it. That was my mindset. So I was a little bit like, oh, well, I've put this weight on because I'm perimenopausal. I bloody wasn't. I was just eating loads.
Yeah, and one of the things we speak to people about all the time is, and it's coming back to the science, I'm not here to say people don't go through a hormonal change, because they definitely do, and the menopause is definitely real. But I think, like you're saying, a lot of people hear things or see marketing or see any kind of stuff on social media, and they kind of use that as their crutch. And when people go through menopause, I think people might say, oh, well, I feel like this and it's exactly the same as how this person felt, when actually everyone has their own journey.
Yeah.
And again, going back to the energy thing, it's that vicious cycle. When I speak to clients all the time, I'm like, do you not have the energy to go to the gym? Or because you're not going to the gym and doing anything that's active, have you not got any energy? And it's that vicious cycle of which one's actually feeding into the other.
Yeah.
So I remember, from my point of view, I'll talk to you from my point of view in that conversation. I just remember you being, obviously you're quite confident, quite chatty. And I just remember you being so adamant, and I could see that you had like started to switch off from the idea and fallen into this mentality of like, I just can't lose weight.
I definitely had done. Yeah, I really had. It was like, oh, it's not going to work, and this is what I'm going to be now.
Yeah,
this is it.
And that's kind of the attitude I picked up. And obviously, as you well know, I'm not known for my tactfulness, but I just remember being like, you kind of like, I know you're going to start to come into fit camp. Obviously, you're on the online program as well, but it kind of had to be like, look, if this doesn't work, this is because you've not implemented what you're going to do. We have worked with this person, and obviously you being local, you kind of knew quite a lot of people in the room, like seeing people like Carol, who had also been through that journey.
Yeah.
Because everyone in the room at Fit Camp at that point had been through a transformation. And it was like, you're no different to them. And I remember that conversation having to be, like you said, quite brutal, and just be like, look, you're eating too much food. You're eating in a calorie surplus. We need to look at your choices. We need to look at education. Yes, of course, I'm not here to argue the age. Like, you could have been perimenopausal, but actually, although that will change the way that you feel, and you're going to go through a hormonal response and might slow down the rate of loss, it's not going to stop you losing weight. And I just remember thinking, right, I'm going to have to be straight to the point here. And although it was pretty brutal, and it probably come across that way, it set the tone.
Yeah, it did. It did. And it was probably the shock I needed.
Yeah.
Because like we said before, if anyone in my house wanted anything, I'd be like, yeah, there's money. You go and do that. I'd encourage them to do anything.
Yeah.
But not myself.
I think that's a common trait in it.
And I needed that push from you to be like, this is now what you need to do.
Yeah.
Because you're just going around it. You're skipping around it and using little excuses, which they're never going to change. You're not going to change by carrying on what you're doing.
No, and on a serious note, I think one of the things you said before was like, obviously because you're quite a confident person, you'd have a chat, you'll have a laugh. And I think people sometimes see that and think that they're not bothered. And they look at it and they're like, they just kind of accept who they are. They're going to have a laugh around it. Whereas actually, as you well know, like the conversations in the studio can be very much like, this is what you need to do. You're eating too much. Stop doing this. Stop doing that. And they can be quite brutal and to the point.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, like I say, when you get to your targets and you've hit targets before and then you've gone away on holiday and you've felt more comfortable, you've felt more confident. And I relay that to you all the time. Like, that's what it's about. It's because if you do not pick people up in the short term, they're never going to change. And actually, like you said before about going on holiday and feeling uncomfortable, people need to realise that their choices are playing into that. It's not just something that naturally happens. It's not something part of getting a little bit older. It's not part of running your own business. It's your choices in between how you decide to spend your time and energy plays into that. So you did it was the home program first, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the home program.
And so it's 16-week program and you'd never lost more than £3.
No.
And you went on to lose how much in that time?
What did I lose? £21 in that?
20.
Yeah.
So it was around £21, wasn't it? So it was about £20. Obviously, that was coming to Fit Camp occasionally as well. But I think that was exactly what you needed at the time to go, and it's quite empowering to go, I am in control of this. I can lose more than £3.
Yeah.
And just to get rid of that misconception of like, it's just you or your body. At that point, you transitioned into the gym program and then eventually transitioned into in person, didn't you?
Yeah.
So you obviously work in person with the studio as well as the support through the app and online as well. So through that journey, obviously, talk to me a little bit about like what started to change with regards. Obviously, we've talked about the weight loss, but like fitness, weight training, was weight training new to you? Tell me a little bit more about kind of what changed.
So what changed with me was the biggest thing was my food.
Yeah.
And controlling my portion sizes, being organised, controlling my portion sizes. But I'd always enjoyed doing exercise, what little exercise I did do, but I'd never done any weight training. I'd maybe done like the odd aerobics class or something, but that was it.
I can imagine you in your leotard doing your aerobics.
Well, to be fair, I've got no coordination, so when everyone goes right, I go left. So step was out of it. So the weight training, and also for me, the fit camp, because it was a bit of everything, a bit of cardio and a bit of, like you say, with weights and stuff. That really did it for me, because it sort of got me into knowing what I enjoyed more. Yeah. Which is not cardio. But it did really help. And then seeing everyone around me and like everyone encourage you. I think I would have done all right on the online program, but Fit Camp helped me push it even more. Yeah. And I was really nervous about joining the gym program, because it was just that going in the gym and assuming everybody's looking at you, everybody knows what they're doing and you don't. That for me was another big step. But still, like you say, coming to Fit Camp and because nobody watches anyone unless they think someone's doing wrong, and they'll help them. Yeah. They just guide them. That really, really did help me. And like the group PT now is brilliant because we, as you know, all chat and get on well.
Oh, you chat you chat.
We do chat. But I know that's what it's about. But I also like the fact that we focus on certain areas. We focus on the weight training and that I really, really do like that.
Yeah. I think the thing to allude to there, and that's something that I've said it on every single podcast we've done, is like 11 years ago, I realised there was something in bringing people together. So it was 11 years ago where I've been in fitness 18, but 11 years ago, it's when I realised that people needed like support outside the gym, number one. And that's when I started delivering programs. But that's also when I started doing we call it Fit Camp, obviously, but it's just a conditioning class. And what I used to do is take all my one-to-one clients and push them into one class, not just because of the class they get an extra session. It was cost effective. People had to pay £5 rather than PT prices. But on top of that, you brought people together. And that is why, obviously, as you well know, you've just been to Farmers Strong with us as well. That is why with the online, even though, and you know this as a small business yourself, even though it costs us a lot of money to put them events on, it is a key part of our service, because I don't want people, like you said, you'd have probably done all right online anyway, but you did better because of Fit Camp. And that's essentially what we're doing with the events, trying to have an event every 2 months, putting out a calendar of events, is inviting people to come and connect and realise, like you did, that everyone around you wants you to do well. Everyone around you is going through the same journey, and there's people ahead of you, but there's also people behind you. And seeing them people come together, it gives people a boost. And I think that's something that we invest in heavily. It does cost us money, but it's also a massive part of our marketing as well. A massive part of our marketing. And I think a good thing to think about there with regards, I think this is Cumbria in general as well, is like the community does really get behind things that they believe in. Yeah. And I remember when you transitioned into the gym, you actually did you go with Chip, James New? Yeah,
I did. I met him a couple of times there. Yeah. And just having that other face there helped.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's what, again, in Cumbria, and that's one of the things that we try to push into our community with our online as well, is that people help each other out, and people literally will reach out and get the support that they need. And I think that was really good. Obviously, shout out to Chip. Hopefully he watches this.
Hopefully he does.
And yeah, he obviously put himself forward. He was going through his own transformation and then put himself forward to come and help. Not just you, he's helped quite a few people in the gym, and obviously you knew him before.
Yeah.
So we transitioned you through all that, and what's your total weight loss now? As of today? I don't know. So
it's about 2.5 stone.
Yeah, so I remember getting to the 2 stone bracket, and then things kind of changed, because then you decided that you was going to do a challenge, and you were going to do Everest Base Camp.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit then about kind of what made you go, yeah, I'm going to do this? What was it, a mad moment? And then talk about kind of the preparation.
Yeah, I definitely think it was a mad moment. Even now, looking
back. Midlife crisis.
I don't know about midlife crisis, just crazy. But I think it was the fact that something with me, it clicked in me when I was doing the program, to be like, yeah, you can do it. You can lose weight. You can put yourself out your comfort zone. where before I'd always kept myself in my comfort zone, you know, which is easy to do, isn't it? And lots of people do it.
We all do it. And like, even people like myself, who's obviously my personal growth and my personal development is massive to me, but we all go through periods where we just retreat back into our comfort zone because essentially that's where we're comfortable, isn't it? And sometimes you need, like, for some people, I think a lot of time, like, people don't know what people are going through. People don't know about people's limiting beliefs. And I think a lot of the time, like, we can kind of just retreat back into that, even if it's for a couple of weeks, couple of months, and even a couple of years, to deal with whatever we're going through, and then decide to come back out of that. And I think it's just what you said there about the confidence is something that's come up in kind of every podcast. And I genuinely, obviously I'm massively biased because I'm a fitness guy. It's all I've ever done. But I genuinely believe if people get into the best shape of their life, that doesn't mean getting abs. It doesn't mean like running around in a bikini. It just means if they get in the best shape of their life, physically and mentally, I genuinely believe that it's a gateway to get confidence and go on and come out of your comfort zone and achieve things in other things as well.
Yeah.
So that's good to hear. So you've decided to join up. At what point? Where'd you go from there then?
So then it was like it was months away. So I didn't kind of forget it, but did put it on the back burner. So we were going on practice walks, trying to do as much walking as possible. There was a couple of times where, you know, I'd thrown my toys out the pram, had a little hissy fit because I wasn't walking wherever we were walking. And then I just said to myself, look, it's paid for, it's done. You're going to have to do it. You're just going to have to suck it up, get on with it.
I think a big thing, so you keep saying that, like it's paid for. And I think that's part of it, innit, is sometimes, not everybody, but I think I'm definitely the same as well. You have to invest in yourself, don't you?
Definitely.
And I think once you do make that investment and make that first action step, sometimes that can be the trigger or the catalyst to go, well, if I've paid for it, I'm going to have to do it.
I'm going to have to do it.
Yeah.
And I think another thing with me was I told a couple of people what we were doing, and one person said, oh, Everest Base Camp, everyone does it. And I was like, no, they don't.
And they definitely do.
No, they don't.
I remember when I give you your award at the, obviously when we did the Come Down With Me the second time. And it was one of the things, and I'm not saying I've done everything in life because I've definitely not, but I said to you, didn't I, like, as one of my clients, it's rare that someone does something that I've never done.
Yeah.
Whether that be weight loss, whether that be performance. And it is definitely not something that people do every day. Obviously, it's getting more popular, but it's not something people do. And it's also, as you well know with David, and I know a couple of people that have been up there, it's very testing.
Really testing.
Really testing.
And that was one thing which I did a lot of research into because I've got asthma. And I was thinking, well, is it going to affect how I breathe? And everything was sort of saying, well, you're rubbish at breathing anyway, so you're going to be even better up there.
Yeah.
And honestly, that was it. I didn't have any problems, no altitude sickness, breathing problems, nothing. In fact, I probably breathed better up there than what I do here because it was so clean and so fresh. But I think a lot of people's attitudes got me to, it was like, right, I'm doing this and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it no matter what. I'm going to smash it. I'm going to get up there. And if I have to drag myself there, I will do. And I took each day as it came.
Yeah.
So I didn't look at it as, oh, I'm going to Everest Base Camp. I looked at it as, oh, we're flying here, then we're going to here. And each day, I didn't look at it from the bigger picture. I just thought, if I do that, it's going to be too much.
Yeah.
And I'm going to set myself up to fail. Like I say, we did our practice walks, but realistically, I hadn't really done any altitude walking at all.
No, of course you haven't.
It was a little bit like when you speak to like people, when we were there, they were like, oh, what have you done? We've done Kilimanjaro, we've done Mont Blanc, we've done all these other peaks. I was like, oh yeah.
Been to fit camp.
Been to Coniston, oh man. Oh, hi, how high is that? I'm like,
not
that high, really. Yeah. So I just went with that attitude of, I'm going to do this. Yeah. And I did. And I listened to a couple of audio books before I went. If I had a bad day where I knew it was all uphill, it was a bit crappy, I just put my earphones in and listened to an audio book and switched the world off. And it was like, right, come on, you've got here to get to tonight.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, it's weird. It's weird thinking back at it now because I just got on with it. And you saw other people struggling one day we saw someone really struggling and I was chatting away to them and I was like, oh my God, what? This is surreal. It was like it wasn't real.
Yeah.
And looking back, it does still feel a little bit like that. To think it was only a year ago we did it, or a year ago we were getting ready to do it. Even when we were in Kathmandu, I was like, oh, these people are like walkers. I'm just Sarah who's rocking up with a pair of leggings and a backpack.
Lost a bit of weight.
Yeah, lost a bit of weight. I'm going to do Everest Base Camp.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely something in that naivety and that confidence that you don't overthink things. I think sometimes if you start to overthink these like challenges and you start to overthink it, like you said, taking each day as it comes, not thinking about the bigger picture, just thinking about completing today, having a couple of distraction techniques with regards to the audio books and stuff like that. And I think having the realization that it was going to be hard, but you was committed to doing it. Yeah. I don't think at any point in your head you was like, oh, what if I don't? I think it was like, I'm going to do it. I just don't know how shit I'm going to feel.
I was determined as well to be better than David.
Yeah, well, we know that.
I was absolutely
so
determined.
From my point of view, obviously it was incredible to have someone. It's always going to look good on social media, innit? It's always going to look good on social media. But it was incredible to have someone that was going through that, because although I've trained a lot of different people, I'd actually not known anyone that had been up personally. But also it was a massive tool for me. So anytime you moaned, anytime you said anything you said about tracking your food,
moan a lot.
I used to be like, listen, if you can climb Everest Base Camp, you can do this. If you're training to climb Everest Base Camp, you can do this squat, you can do this cardio, you do these burpees, you can do this conditioning session. Stop whinging if you think this is hard. Wait till you see. And it was a massive tool on it. I just banged on about it, didn't I?
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it was a massive tool for me, because it was like, it gave me that ability to push you in the realization of, look, if you can't come in here and handle a 45-minute beasting, you've got no chance going up base camp.
Yeah.
Because that is going to be not only physically tough, but mentally tough as well.
Yeah, and I think you don't underestimate how mentally and physically it actually is.
Yeah.
Because it's as much up as it is down. And in some ways, coming down was worse for me than going up. And I tell you what did help though, my videos, the team sent me.
Yeah, so obviously at the time, just for like the people watching, like for the time, you were obviously going through group PT, weren't you?
Yeah.
Shout out to, because this will go out as well, shout out to Mark Charnley and Sam Proctor up at Charnley's, and also shout out to Stu as well with regards the gardening as well, because they all come together to sponsor. We got Sarah a jacket to go up with and sponsor that, but we also did David, and when you go how persistent he is, like,
He is persistent, isn't it?
So obviously the business was blowing up at the time, but we were desperate to support you. And then I had David was like trying to get my number off. People was like, I thought I owed him money. Like he was literally trying to get my number from everyone. And then finally got in touch with me. I was like, look, we'll definitely do something. And then obviously we all recorded the videos for you, didn't you? Obviously you cut my kids' hair as well. So like with the kids, and then obviously every single person from Group PT, which was obviously nice. Which was obviously nice for us to do as well. Because I think the whole group became like a standing joke, didn't it? Oh, if you can't do that, you're not going to be able to do base camp kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is obviously nice, and it gives the group a lift as well. It definitely gives the group a lift. So you've done Everest Base Camp, you've lost 2 stone. Obviously, just more recently, we've got another half a stone off.
Yeah.
So what is your plans now? What is your plans now? What's the goal? And what does life look like now, essentially, compared to how you felt, like, say, let's say 2 years ago before you took action? And
like you said before, I am a confident person, but I'm not as confident as people think. So, as in...
Are you sure?
Yeah, I am. No, I think it's given me more confidence in myself to believe in myself more now, which I do. Like, I love going to the gym. I love doing my workouts. Everything's changed. Like, and as well, my mindset. That is one of the biggest things for me, is my mindset's changed so much. What I want to do now is, I daren't say I want to lose any more weight, because I can't be bothered if you're going on at me.
So what I say to all my clients is...
Not fat loss.
What I say to all my clients is, be very careful. I say it to you, because be very careful what you put on your goal. We give you, every time we come into a new training block, I give you a goals and ambitions form. And I always say, be very careful what you put on there, because that is what I'm going to hold you accountable to. Yeah. So people do, I am I think people, even if they've got me on Instagram, will probably realise like I am relentless. Like relentless.
Yeah, definitely. Relentless.
And I think that is one thing that I've always stayed, like, even when we had the conversation, that first initial conversation, it was like, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm not rent a friend. Yes, we can have a laugh. Yes, hopefully we build a good relationship, which obviously we have. But I'm here to get you results. That's what you're paying me for.
Yeah.
That's my job. And just like you wouldn't send, I hope not, you wouldn't send someone out with a bad haircut because you know it's a representation of you.
Exactly.
When people come to me and they've got a goal, that whether you get to that goal or not, I genuinely see as a representation of me. So it's my job to kind of get you there. So yeah, I think that's something to be careful of. You've done your goals and ambitions form, and we start our new book tomorrow. What is the goal? Where do you see?
So I want to be more stronger. I do want to be stronger.
Yeah.
Like I am happy with my weight now. If I lose a few more pounds, then that's a bonus. That's really good. Yeah. But yeah, I think my goal now is to be more stronger, to be able to lift a bit heavier.
Yeah.
For myself.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's something I've seen naturally come in with regards yourself is obviously you came in, you were probably a little bit nervous. Then you've got to know the gym. Like you say, Fit Camps is a good introduction because you do lift a little bit of weights, but there's no pressure on it. And then you've kind of taken to that side of it. And pretty much everyone in your group, that whole group training has kind of took to that. Although everyone's kind of has got a bit of a fat loss goal, everyone has took to strength training, which is really good and makes for a good atmosphere in the gym as well. So just to conclude then, let's talk a little bit about what does life look like now compared to 2 years ago. So like in yourself, going on holiday, in your job, more confidence, whatever it may be, how is it different? What's the comparison?
The biggest comparison is just feeling comfortable in myself.
Yeah.
Not hiding away under like baggy clothes, aprons at work, just being comfortable.
And I think
that's what it was about for me, to be comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah, and I think the big thing, like I think I've always said to you as well, is you are a confident person. And sometimes people can use that and mask their insecurities and actually do nothing about it because they're like, oh, well, I can go on a night out and be life and soul. I can be at work and have a laugh. And like these insecurities don't necessarily hold you back, or people from the outside looking in would definitely look and be like, oh, no, Sarah's a confident person. But actually, internally, like you said, like the stuff like going on holiday and feeling uncomfortable, like that's the kind of stuff when we're looking at a fitness journey that we're looking to deal with. So we're looking to help people to get in the best physical and mental shape of their life. So I think that is definitely something like that hopefully resonates with a couple of people at home that are watching, that you don't, I think sometimes people see you have to be in a bit of a hole to kind of take action. And it's just not true. Like, you're a high performer, you run your own business, you're very popular in the local area, you go for meals out, you've got a good social life.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that you were, all right, you was enjoying it, but it wasn't at your best.
No, it wasn't. And it wasn't. And I really didn't like feel if I was going somewhere comfortable with what I was wearing, whether I got a bigger size or what it was, I just was not comfortable with myself in my skin.
Yeah. And I think that's a big thing. Was you more comfortable in your own skin or when I put them pictures up of your...
Oh, them pictures. I hate them pictures.
I think it's like, it's worth saying, and this is what happens like when you're speaking to clients, is for the last progress pictures we put up, didn't we? So I was like, are you happy to share? And you were like, yeah. And then I posted on my Instagram and you were like, I meant with the group, my bedroom's messy.
Yeah.
Forget me in my underwear, but my bedroom's messy.
My bedroom's messy. I just made the bed.
So, right, I think that's a good place to leave it. So, obviously, thank you so much for coming on. It's great for you to share your journey, and a unique one as well, because I think a lot of people that have been with JD Training have been through quite a physical and a mental transformation as well. But to throw in there Everest Base Camp, I think was massive, because I think you would have got a lot from JD Training, and I think you have. But I think that really solidified to you that actually, yes, I can do anything I put my mind to. And also that's where that internal confidence has come from, and hopefully continues now into the fact of, like, obviously you did Farmer Strong recently and did other things. And I think you look now and you would see things a lot different and go, yeah, I am capable of that, whether that be in your career, whether that be on holiday, wearing clothes, however that transpires.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely wouldn't have done any of the things I've done in the last 2 years without me joining up.
Say that to the camera.
No, I definitely wouldn't have. I definitely, especially the base camp. But even things like the Farmer Strong, I was a bit nervous when I got there because I was like, oh God, this is like, what is this? But it was brilliant.
It was
a
easier than fit
brilliant
camp.
day. It probably was easier. No, it wasn't easier than a fit camp. But I wouldn't have done half the things I've done. I just would have known. Well, I would have just looked at it and said, I can't do that.
And I think probably one of the things that you don't realise as well is, obviously, one of the reasons I think all of you guys did really well on Farmer Strong and signed up is because you signed up together.
Yeah.
And I think probably what you don't realise, and probably one of the reasons I tell you shut up every week, is you were actually probably a major part of doing that. So, and I think this is why the community aspect is so big to me, not only for you guys, but also the online, is because probably the reason you did it was obviously to challenge yourself. But obviously some of the people that did it with you, even probably dragging their feet and kicking and screaming on the day, like Mel, was doing it because you was doing it, and because you've become such an integral part of their group, and they're like, oh well, if Sarah wants everyone to do it, and I think it's just good to look sometimes that obviously there's been personalities within JD Training that have helped you, and then now like you're being that kind of catalyst for them, going, oh, do you know what? I like training with Joe and I like training in the studio, but I'm going to put myself out there and do something that's out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, and it was nice for the 6 of us in our group to go and do something not in the studio.
Yeah.
It was good.
You mean so I couldn't bully you?
Yeah.
Awesome. So, right, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll have you on again when you've done Everest to the top next time.
Yeah, right.
So guys, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed Sarah's journey. The reason behind these podcasts is for you to get an insight into what goes on behind a transformation. Every single transformation's got a story, and hopefully something within that resonated with you and allows you to then go on and take action, whether that's with JD Training or something in your personal life. So thank you for listening.